was reading article arrest. I mean, the police were called 911 call uh, on a boy was just mowing his lawn or mowing the neighbor's lawn, and the neighbor, the white neighbor, called the police on this black child who was just mowing the lawn. I grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly black, and we had one family, or actually one old white lady who lived, move out of the neighborhood. You know, refused to move to the suburbs back in the day, and she kept primarily to herself. Um, Today, due to so many factors, the black population is reducing in number, and now whites are seeing the reduction in numbers, the lack of unity among blacks, as an opportunity for them to confront, attack, and basically ignore and disassociate with black families that may live amongst them. Blacks in the suburbs are getting it particularly rough as their reducing numbers leaves them vulnerable to all manner of racist attacks. And this is a problem that is increasing in the United States. The depopulation of the black community is evident everywhere. I hear people talking about the black community, and I keep saying, where is the black community? It's been at least 3 years now since they came out with articles about Harlem no longer being black. Gentrification has basically many of the major areas where blacks have black areas which used to be what's the word I'm looking for? Predominantly black areas, and it's still going on as we speak today. There is a serious situation where black people and black leaders are not talking about the reduction of numbers of blacks. The population of the nation is reducing, yet no one is really discussing it or talking about this. And I see it as a great problem. And because of the reduction of black population, you seeing these types of incidents where blacks being harmed, you know, indiscriminately because they are standing out in the majority of the population is no longer black. So we have to start addressing this. Racial profiling is on the rise because black numbers are reducing. Tell me, this is a major reason. And we are seeing this confrontation between blacks and whites because the black community is gone and blacks are somehow having to either move into black areas, or they are moving where whites are, and they are getting these confrontations. The United States is not the same as it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago. It is changing. And one of the big changes is blacks are having abortions at a high rate. So you have, like, for every 4 children conceived, 3 of those children are aborted in the black community. So this is the issue, because as time goes, less Black people are being born, and you are in a racist society. And one of the things that protected you back in the day was that you could come together and protest, riot, or whatever, and the country could hear you and see you. But today, this is not the case. You go to a Black Lives Matter protest, and like more than half of the people are not Black that are protesting. So I understand what is going on. We are losing our identity. Negroes ignoring all of the warning signs that are coming out there, and are becoming scared in their own, supposedly their own country. Well, the fact of the matter is, it is not your country. It never was your country. The Constitution, the U.S. Constitution depicts Blacks as three-fourths of a human being, like a chicken, like a cow. That is when they developed the U.S. Constitution. This is how they saw us. And the government, even today, looks at us as numbers. Like, what can you do for me as far as taxes? The trickery that is that when a Black family is broken, it is a benefit to the government. It's a detriment to the Black community, but a Black family that is broken is a benefit to the government, because where they had only one apartment, now they need two. Where they had only one refrigerator, they only needed one. When the family breaks up, the man or the woman leaves, they have to move to their. This is an extra gas bill, an extra electric bill. You see, it becomes a problem. The government, because they're dealing in that and dealing with transport, buying petrol. All of these things are increased if Black families somehow really, because now they can get into your personal family, and then lawyers come in and you have to pay the lawyers, and then the courts child support, and they take money from the man and take a percentage off the money they give to the mother of the children. So these things are running like big business, and Black men in general are the ones who are targeted, especially the working class man. And at the same time, they're draining him financially, because he can't, and to the point where he can't even, afford to have a family. Propaganda, Western propaganda, which I always say is the Western propaganda is the enemy of the Black man. Let me repeat that. Western propaganda is the number one enemy of the Black man. You can just see it. For an example, China. In recent weeks past, there was this propaganda going around that the country of Zambia had to be, the Chinese were going to take over the electric company of Zambia. And it was presented on Fox News. Fox News in the United States is got this nose way, and they are feeling it. With the Chinese doing great business in Africa, and they want to try to subvert that. And so they said that they're taking over the electric company. This never happened. It was a bold-faced lie. The Chinese came out and said it was a lie, and the Zambian government officials came out and said there's nothing like that, and that the Zambian government and China still hold great relations. What Ugandans didn't buy the American people, and the nigga who promoted that book was that had been doing have been doing business together since the 1960s. And as the Zambian government official was saying in an interview in a South African television show, that loans are just when there's a trouble meeting obligation, just and this is what China has been doing. China has been giving Africa loans, and if there's a problem paying back a loan, they just restructure the loan. I keep explaining to people that it is not in China's best interest to come and take over African companies. And also, this lie about the Chinese are going to be invading Africa is just a lie, propaganda. And this is the case. I mean, never in its long history ever invaded a country. They are not like that. The president of China has come on TV numerous times and said that they want a win-win African government doing. They are not just throwing out loans any which way, to any kind of project. If they were in the business of subjugating African economies, they would be giving loans out into any kind of project. Yet you see that most of the loans given to African governments by China are infrastructure loans, building airports, building railways, improving roads. Situation for African countries, and it is unlike what the United States, and I shouldn't say the World Bank, which is just the United States anyway, did in the 1990s. They consumed Africa, who were trying Africans in the 1980s and 90s, go look it up, were not able to build hospitals or improve on their public and education systems because the IMF and the World Bank backed fraudulent loans that the World Bank and the IMF ended up calling in at the end of the day. And many of the African governments, once they were out from under that horrible situation, never went back to the IMF and the World Bank. Please look it up. So what the Western propagandists on Fox News were saying about China was exactly what the United States had did 2 decades earlier. Go look it up. Black people should not be concerned about China. China and Africa are doing great business together. They have been in partnership for 18 years, and you have not seen African governments complaining. So I think that this new following the propaganda nonsense should be ended immediately. And you black people should be able to discern between truth and propaganda. It can always see it's propaganda when it would be something that white racists would love to hear. That they're trying to tell Africans that they should not trust the Chinese. A Chinese manufacturer comes into an African village with a full load of borehole making machinery and saying, I want to put a borehole in your community, right here in your African village. So the African people listening to that propaganda tell the Chinese, no, that's throwing rocks at them. And you think that would be something that the people that are can't be trusted should be proud of? My God, if you just go around and listen to all of the success stories that China has had in Africa, you'd be feeling stupid for even imagining that the Chinese are here to try to take advantage of the African. It's only the white man and only Western civilizations that have colonized and recolonized man, and only Western civilizations that have colonized and recolonized African countries. People you should be talking about not trusting, as opposed to the Chinese, who have been doing business in Africa for decades without a problem. And lastly, issue of blacks in the United States coming and moving to modern Africa. I have said many times that the solution for black people, the solution, 99% of black people's problems, the solution is to move to modern and rural Africa, not some small way out of the way country like Ghana, where America, CIA is attempting to propagate blacks to go to Ghana. No, you should be moving to a larger, more established African country like Kenya or in East Africa. This idea of pointing blacks towards Ghana is ridiculous. Ghana is too small. You cannot have basic opportunities to survive in Ghana. Black Americans been fooled, have moved into Ghana. They're walking the streets of Accra begging for money, running 10 small fruit businesses and sidewalk restaurants, trying to make money when they can move to some place like Kenya where the GDP is far greater and there are hundreds more opportunities for young black men to make money. This is another part of propaganda that is out there. We should be looking out for that. And in Kenya for 21 years now, and I'm here to bear witness that what I'm telling you is true. Ghana is no comparison for a black man who is first time moving into Africa to see if it's a place for him to live. Too many African Americans that come to Ghana, walked around, tried to make it, couldn't make it, and then moved back to America defeated. No, Africa is a continent, many countries, and many countries have a lot of business opportunities far greater than some places in Ghana. Nigeria is another country that has a lot of opportunity for an entrepreneurial black man, but he has to, make his way past the normal procedures to get into the country, which are pretty steep. But in Kenya, you can get your visa at the airport. I think that we need to move to than having to stay in the country which has hated us for 400 years. And I want to remind blacks that next year, 2000, will be the 400th anniversary of blacks being in the United States. As slaves, we've been slaves much longer than we have been free. But after 400 years, our condition, as Dr. Claude Anderson said, is dire. We have not moved anywhere 1 inch economically from in the late 1800s. And I want to remind blacks that 100 years ago in America, there was race riots. At the 300-year anniversary in the summer of July, in the summer of 1919, you had the greatest race riots in history in the Chicago area and other areas in the United States. Blacks were fed up with the treat for 300 years, and whites were trying to stop them from moving up economically. That was 300 years ago, July, this happened. And exactly 3 years, almost to the month, Black Wall Street crisis, where the whites came and burned down Black Wall Street. And that was exactly 3 years to the month of race riots. And in the Great Race Riots, what was the major incident in those race riots in Chicago? Whites coming over to the Black South Side of Chicago, burning Black people out of their houses. Look it up. It's there for you to look for in history. But I know Negroes try to ignore history more than they look at it. And this is to their detriment as far as their mental understanding of what is happening to them is concerned. Whites moved into, came and continued to come and burn people out of their houses 100 years ago, or well, actually 99 years ago from now. and it'll be 100 years exactly ago when we reached 2019 next year, and the 400th anniversary of blacks being in the United States and suffering behind racist and economic oppression by the dominant society. There is only one solution. You have rioted, you have protested, you have voted, you have demonstrated, you have had sit-ins of be attacked by being shot. You know, you have tried to accommodate them in every way possible. Accommodate white people in every way possible to show that you are not a threat. Yet here today, you're still being profiled, shot by police, imprisoned in unequal numbers, and what is happening to us in the court system. It's time to wake up. America is never going to treat you right. And as I said about black men that are trying to raise their children the right way in the United States, you're a fool. You're a dumb fool. And your children should kick your ass as soon as they get old enough. For you, knowing you in a system that is racist and oppressive and the destructor of families, you should have your ass kicked for raising your kids in the same goddamn atmosphere which you know today black homes in the 2008 recession, and it is still continuing today. Yet refusing in Africa, which 8 of the top 10 fast growing economies in the world are in Africa today, and black countries are being run by blacks, and you are refusing to look at that as an alternative to the nonsense you've been in for 400 years or to 399 years. Yeah, I call you a fool. And if I was your kid and I realized what you had done, I'd be kicking your ass. White people ain't gonna never let you win in that country. You got all the evidence in the world to prove this. Yet you still want to give out and start having babies there? Or are you joking with me? But anyway, that's my rant for today. And my name is Amin Ra from Kenya. And I'm saying, listen and let me know what you think about the situation. Thank you.